So what do you do at 155 pounds, right? I have a feeling we're going to keep on talking about this until we get a decision made, right? Until Dana comes out and has some kind of a press conference. And the big favorite right now is that you've already got it. You've already got Khabib and I apologize. You already have Poirier and you already have Conor. That's already made. That's January 23rd. Throw the belt up for grabs. Oh, okay. I see the laziness and the simplisticness in that for some reason. I don't think that's going to happen. No inside information. There's something about that just, I don't feel it's going to happen. I feel it's too obvious. I don't know how bad Conor is going to want that. Conor doesn't necessarily have a say in it. Dana is going to decide who is going to go fight for the championship. John Anik weighed in on this on Twitter. And John did not take a side. John just offered thoughts. And John asked a question. He said, okay, I'm going to name 5 guys for you. I want you to respond with just one name. Don't try to match up these 5 guys with who should fight for it, but one name that you feel should fight for it. And he listed Oliveira, and I think he put Chandler in there. He definitely had Ferguson, he had Poirier, he had Conor. I believe that was John's 5. And I think that John also has identified the right 5. And even if Oliveira might have caught you guys off guard, I think if you're going to go 5, I think that John did the right 5 guys. And Chandler then weighed in separately, but Chandler weighed in and said, let's do a tournament. Put Conor and Poirier in there, and I'll fight with Tony, and we'll call that a semifinal. Whoever wins goes and fights for the belt. Now, as much as Conor is not going to greatly influence this, Chandler is not going to greatly influence this, Anik is not going to greatly influence this, and I am not going to greatly influence this, but I do think if you start to take all of our ideas together, I think we're all onto a point here. I love where Anik started, which isn't, don't make the match for me. Tell me the guy that you think should be in there. Okay, great. I also think that Chandler makes a fair point that if we're down to 4 guys, we can't use 5, right? But we could use 4. Maybe you have them fight on the same night and then they draw into somebody else and it's a little bit less obvious. There is something that is accidentally dismissive about just throwing the belt up that accidentally became vacant for a fight that just happens to already be made. I mean, there's something about that. You could do it and nobody would complain. And the odds on people are saying that is going to happen. I just push it back a little bit. I think I'm going to be right on this. I do not think all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and Poirier versus Conor is for the championship. I just don't. Based on nothing. Based on no evidence. One guy's sitting over here talking to you. I don't think that's going to happen. Chandler then reversed course somewhere along the way and said, instead of Ferguson, I think I should fight Gaethje. Now, I don't know that I have an opinion on that. I love either one of those fights. Chandler's going to have to fight somebody, and it's going to be a hammer. They're going to deal Chandler straight from the bottom of the deck, and he knows that, and that's what he signed up for. He's calling out Ferguson. He's calling out Gaethje. Come on, man. Respect to Chandler. That's a hard night out. That's a very, very hard night out. He's asking for one. Nobody asked for one of those 2 guys. Then it becomes you do have to come back to Gaethje. If we're just guessing here, but if we're starting to look to January, and that was also relevant to Chandler's point. Chandler said, look, Gaethje just did an interview. He didn't take very much damage in the Khabib fight, which is a good thing. And he says he can be ready in 6 to 8 weeks. I can also be ready in 6 to 8 weeks, which happens to align with January 23rd, which happens to be where Conor's fighting Poirier, which happens to lend to the idea that instead of putting the belt up for grabs that night, maybe it goes to something like Chandler said. Right? The UFC's never done a tournament, and I don't know that you would call it a tournament. But as fans, if we go, okay, there's 2 number 1 contenders fights in the same night. That's a semifinal. The semifinal, to Chandler's point, you can call it a tournament. The question does become, what do you do with Tony Ferg? Now, if you want to talk about Justin Gaethje can be ready in 6 to 8 weeks, Tony can be ready in 6 to 8 hours. Does that lend to it? Does that lend to your opinion and your influence? there is something to be said for parity. How much do you want to throw Gaethje right back in there? Does Gaethje want to go right back in there? I mean, do you come up short for a championship and then a guy leaves, which now makes your likelihood to get it better? Do you think that that's a knock? I would not. I'd take that damn championship any way you could get it. You call it an interim, you call it a world championship, do it 185, 205. I mean, I'm just personalizing this any way you want to do it. I used to come through tournaments my whole life. I loved it when a guy didn't show up. Guy got sick, missed the bus, missed weight. I give a damn. It's a turn. I mean, in all fairness, I think you guys could relate to that. I don't know that you always have to stack the deck against yourself in some false vision of bravado. You win the matches you can win when you can win them. That's the way games are played, not just this one. I think 155 is a lot of fun. In many ways, if I had a request of Dana, it's don't. Don't tell us right away. We already know Conor's fighting Poirier. That's going to be a huge night. If you want to spice that up a little bit, I get it. If you need to get that belt around somebody, man, I get the whole thing. You don't have to do it right now. All fairness, we're having a lot of fun right now. What's more fun than to speculate, than to guess, than to argue of different possible scenarios? Once you have the answer, the detective work is done. You got to move on to something else. I don't think that we need this answer right now. I don't think what we're going to do with Khabib's belt needs to be decided right now. They will move on very quickly, and Khabib was very sincere. Khabib's walking away. I offer you that because if we were to go back to the last time that we were in the same situation, it would be Henry Cejudo. And even then, people were a little bit loose. Did Henry mean it? That seemed like a negotiated ploy. He went to the press conference 45 minutes later and he said, if there's a certain amount, then I'll take it all back. Dana didn't play the game. He said, man, I will take any of my athletes at their word. They can also take me at mine, which is I'm on the road right now. When I return to Vegas, I'm going to have a matchmaker meeting. I'm going to make a match. If I have a champion, I'll get a match for him. If I don't have a champion, I'm going to make a championship match. And in all fairness, he went back to Vegas a week later. He did just that. So I don't know how much I'm going to get my way in that Dana let this simmer for a little bit. But I would request that he let it simmer for a little bit. Look, Chandler does not have an opponent or a date, and Chandler matters in this division. Ferguson doesn't have an opponent or a date. Gaethje says he could be ready in 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know that a commission's going to agree with him. I think if we're talking in the short term, you got to take Gaethje off the board. We got Conor and Poirier. Why do we have to take the most obvious? Why do we have to take what's right in front of us? Why do we have to take what's next and just put the belt up? I'm going to give you my prediction a little bit early. Poirier and Conor's a big fight. It's a meaningful fight. It will not be for the lightweight championship.